In this week's Seder VaYigash, Yehuda turns to Yosef, who has effectively accused them of having stolen the goblet with which he is able to engage in sorcery. And he turns to him and he says, Adoni Shalas Avadav Lemar, when we first came down, simply to buy food so that we should not starve in the land of Canaan, you confronted us and you asked your servants, saying, Hayesh lachem avoach, do you have a father or a brother? And when Rav Soloveitchik Zatzal was 7 or 8 years old, living in Chatzlovitz, where his father was the Rav of the town, he recalled that when he was 7 or 8, sitting in the cheder with his Chassidish, his Lubavitch Rebbe, the Rebbe turned to him and the students shortly after Hanukkah, when the nights were dreary, dark, and they stayed to the end of the day and walked home with lanterns, and they walked to the cheder in the morning with lanterns because it was dark in the morning as well during the winter time. And the Rebbe turned to them and he asked them, after one of the boys had read within the shir, Hayesh lachem avoach, translating that as meaning, do you have a father or brother? He turned to the Rav Zatzal and he said, what did he mean? What does it mean? Everyone has a father. Everyone, Hayesh lachem avoach. No human being other than Adam Arishon has no father. To which the Rav attempted to explain to him that obviously Yosef was asking and inquiring about the welfare of the father that they had. But he couldn't even get the words out of his mouth. And the Rebbe turned to him and the rest of the shir and he said, do you know what Yosef was asking them? He wasn't asking them simply about whether Yehuda and his brothers had a father and whether they had a brother. To which they responded, Yesh lanu av zakein, an elderly father, and a yelev zekunim katan, and indeed a younger brother who was the apple of the eye of our father. But rather Yosef was turning to them and he was saying to them, do you look upon your father, your mortal father, your human father, as an antiquated being? Or do you look at him like you are the blossoms and branches of the tree, and you look at him as being the root of your existence, the foundation of everything? And even though he is much older, and perhaps turning to the child within the cheder, whom the Rebbe considered to be the greatest Eloi, not the Rav, he looked at him and he said, your father's a blacksmith. Do you look upon your father with somewhat a sense of irreverence, given the fact that you are sitting and learning Gemara and your father doesn't know even how to open up any Masechta and read a line? Do you look at him askance? Or do you look at your father, who is older than you, as being the connection to everything that is sacred within your past? For when you look upon your father forever in such a vein, then you can first transfer that understanding and transfer that reverence to Avinu Shebashamayim, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when you look at your younger brother, do you look at your younger brother and simply see someone who's younger than you, not deserving effectively of your respect or your time or your attention? Or do you look at your younger brother as being the vision of the future, as being the Yeled Zekunim, the favored child, as being the person who represents all the dreams and the visions that you as part of Klal Yisrael are to have? And therefore the Rav explained, he said, look at us in America. We live in a land, the Gilden of Medina, the golden province, where Baruch Hashem we are able to have anything and everything that we need insofar as Yiddishkeit is concerned. Why would a person bother to even contemplate moving to the land of Israel, which virtually every day is under attack? Why would a person consider supporting a land so afar? And answered the Rav, because Eretz Yisrael is the land of our forebears, and Eretz Yisrael is our country, and Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, represents our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because Avram and Yitzchak and Yaakov, every step that they took within the country of Israel was a step acquiring Olam Haba, a step of sanctification, of holiness, of Kedusha. And therefore we pay deeply and heavily the price of the loss even of our young ones defending that land. But that's whom we are, because we understand that it represents our future. And therefore, explained the Rav, when Yehuda and the brothers were asked, Hayesh lachem avoach, They weren't simply being asked whether they had a father or even how well he was, or whether they have a brother. They were being asked effectively by Yosef HaTzadik, how do you live your lives? Do you look backwards? Do you look at your father representing the past, your connection with reverence and awe and promise to the past to determine the future? For your Yeled Zakunim, for all who are young and all who have a sense of vitality, who can creatively imagine what the future could bring? If you have that, then indeed you live your lives properly. And I would add, sometimes in life we speak of the notion that we have to move backwards to move forward. Not backwards and forwards, but rather backwards time to glance where we came from, what we were built upon, what we bring to the present in order to merge with the future, to go backwards in order to move forwards. Much like we begin our Shmona Esrei, is it not? Steps backward in order to move forward, closer to Hashem Yisbarach, closer to where we wish to be. Hayesh Lachem of Oach. Have a wonderful Shabbos.